Today I'm reading an excerpt from my yet unpublished novel Estuary, which was inspired really by the life of my aunt in Adelaide. And this reading is taken from chapter 1, the very beginning of the story. The adult cremated body weighs about the same as a newborn baby. I was always picking up these odd bits of information in unexpected places, on the radio or in doctors' waiting rooms, and God knows I'd spent plenty of hours there, paging through old, creased magazines while I waited for my name to be called. It always stuck in my head, for example, that the fear of the number 13 is known as triskaidekapophobia. And now, of course, this fact just popped into my head that September the 13th as I walked down the cracked pathway to Simon's funeral parlour. I'd been thinking about cremations because she'd wanted that, not a burial. Fair enough, but not for me, thanks. Just stick me in the ground and let me feed the worms. The idea of burning and being trapped in a small space gave me the willies. Did I mention claustrophobia? I had that one too. I hesitated for a moment before I pulled the heavy brass doors toward me. At least it wasn't a church funeral, so I'd be spared the pious, empty words from some sky pilot who never knew her. She wouldn't have stood for that. I felt a hand on my shoulder, soft as a settling bird. Who else but Maddie, with her usual nervous half smile? "Seth, you're here. Shall we sit together?" And now he was Brian too, crushing my hand in his big red fleshy paws and breathing peppermint and good fellowship into my face. I always thought he'd had the sulky mouth of a man who'd been hurt, never got over it, and who expects to be hurt again. But then, maybe I was biased. "When did you arrive?" "Yesterday. I'm staying at a hotel in town." "What? All that way from Melbourne on that bike of yours? You know you could have stayed with us." I watched Maddie's perfect mouth shaping the words, and I could tell from her eyes that she was trying hard to believe what she was saying. "I'm sorry about your aunt, Seth. She was a good woman. It's just a shame that there was all that trouble towards the end." The air between us was humming now with all the possibilities of our shared memories, as well as that perfume of hers, spicy, irritating, and to me with my super sensitivity, more like a room deodorizer. I wish I'd had the balls to tell her then. "Well, anyway, let's go in and get a seat. We can catch up on everything afterwards." What was there to catch up on? Our separation had been as civil as our marriage. Now, though, I felt like a condemned prisoner being whisked into the chapel with Maddie and Brian marching either side of me. Was I to be tortured into recounting old memories? And what was that about trouble? Aunt Lily never caused trouble to anyone as far as I could remember. Quite the opposite. The music in the chapel was a real punch in the gut. So familiar that I expected to find her there playing that damned violin. It was that slow movement from Sibelius, where all the violins suddenly go bananas, jumping up and down saying, "Look at me, look at me." I was immediately transported back to one of those rainy afternoons in the house in Glenorg, with the smell of damp washing drying by the wood stove in the stuffy kitchen, and the long arms of a rambling Rose tapping on the window trying to get inside. I'd been 16 then, and known fuck all about the world. Inside the chapel there was a scattering of people sitting upright like bollards, with clean, shiny faces in their polished oak seats, while a tall woman in a beige suit with padded shoulders glided towards us over the black and white tiles as if she was on wheels. She wore her blonde hair loose, like a loose-fitting bathing cap. "Good afternoon. I'm Samantha. You must be Miss Lightwing's nephew. I'm your designated support person for today's life affirmation celebration for Leela Lightwing." Her grip was firm and professional, well practiced, humane, but sweaty. "Your aunt made all the arrangements with us quite some time ago, Mr. Lightwing, and of course Simmons are here. I just want to emphasise not to mourn, but to celebrate your aunt's life." Her teeth were strong and impossibly white. Perhaps she part-timed in toothpaste commercials. There was a spark between us, and I immediately recognised her as one of those many women who was attracted to me because of my deformity. Warm and compassionate, yet wanting to control events around them and make my defect disappear by some miracle if possible. Who was I to complain about the attraction I inspired in such women? I had so much invested in these transactions. As she spoke, Samantha's short-cropped blonde hair bounced around her neck, that soft, vulnerable part of the neck that I always wanted to kiss or nibble as soon as possible when I met a woman like her.